We're turning attention to another matter now. We've got Mr. Olajide Oduyoye, who is the general manager of LASMA. So, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning to you.
Well, there's an impending closure of the third mainland bridge, and we know that several times traffic management policy or program are being worked on, alternative routes, but there will always be the apprehension. Oh dear, the third mainland bridge is going to be partially closed, 3 months from both lanes. But the huge concern now is, how are people going to cope? So what is the traffic management plan?
Well, I'll start with dealing with the apprehension that people may have. And I'll break it down in the sense that the bridge has got 2 legs. And so the work program is to close one leg while the other leg is available. So the first leg that will be closed will be from the Adeniji Adele end towards Oworoshoki, while the Oworoshoki end to Adeniji will be open for the first 3 months. Technically, what we're saying is the commuters that go from the mainland to the island don't have a problem because nothing has changed.
At all the time? Was it
All the
during
time.
1 p.m.
No.
to 12 p.m.? Or
Between 12 midnight and 12 noon. And that is the AM peak movement to the island. And so from 1 p.m. to 12 midnight, the reverse would happen because then that is the PM peak coming back towards the mainland. And so basically, those that are likely to be affected, which is a small number, will be the normal commuting traffic that wants to go to the island from 12 noon.
Okay.
So those are the only ones that we need to cater for. And the numbers are expected to be small.
So what's the plan for those ones?
Well, there's no plan. The plans are there, like if you're going to a Third Mainland Bridge, depending on what area you're coming from, if you're coming from the Obudu area, Alakwade area, or from Mowe side from Ogun State, which means now when you get to Oworoshoki, you have to do a right to go into Apapa Oshodi Express and go down to Antoni to link Ikorodu Road. And that take you to Barracks and take Eko Bridge. If not, you can go through Jibowu and go through Yaba, take about Murtala Mohammed Way and go to Oyingbo, Ido, and take Kata Bridge to come to the island.
But we thought that this is supposed to be when those alternative routes are operational. But we understand that they're working on those alternative routes. Are they going to be over and done with fully when this closure happens?
Yes, they are done. I mean, we went out on site with the controller from Federal Ministry of Works and the Lagos State Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. We went out, and what basically we're saying is like the routes that it's already being used. So people should not confuse that some strange new brand road was being created and being called alternative. What we're saying is like once you're not able to go over the Third Mainland Bridge, these other routes are available. So the government accepts that they may not be as motorable as we would like it to be. And in order to help the situation, make it smoother, so works have been done on them to make it smoother for vehicles to travel on them.
Well, some would wonder that, I mean, we knew that since about the middle of last year that the Third Mainland Bridge was going to be closed and consequently alternatives should have been planned ahead. For instance, we understand right now that there are some portions of the first or second mainland bridge, is it Eko or Kata Bridge, that is also closed now? Eko Bridge is closed now. So, I mean, that definitely makes it a lot more cumbersome, so to speak.
Yeah, well, let me break it down the way I feel that maybe our viewers can understand it. I will just relate the road network to our bodies, right? So on Monday, my body is okay, all right? And then I know I need to see my doctor in 6 months' time for normal checkup because I need to check myself up. But in between the 6 months, right, I have constant headache, or I have broken bone, or something. Then I have to attend to that because it's just happened. I can't leave it. The fact that I have to do general checkup doesn't change anything. So that is what happened to Eko Bridge. We found out that the joints and the bearings on that place was just completely weak. It's already, in fact, it was a major safety issue. So it needed to be closed for works to be on. It's different from a plant maintenance. So you deal with emergencies as it is. I think the government is doing a great job in trying to make sure they fix it because the story would change if anyone was to lose their lives as a result of negligence, just living and managing it because you don't want people to complain about traffic. Our safety is the most paramount.
Well, going forward, we'll come to some of that, hopefully we'll be able to get some maintenance system going. But When our correspondent Olu Phillips went out last week, he with all the things that he saw, he feels that it's very doubtful that we'll be able to have what you are saying. It's one thing to make the promises. It's another thing entirely for people to have the kind of experience that is manageable, in your own opinion.
Well, I would not expect anyone who's used to Lagos to say they're not used to traffic. Every single day, there's traffic in Lagos. And you just have to be a realist and ask yourself, what constitutes the traffic? Who makes the traffic happen? It's us. It's nobody else. It's nobody's fault. It's not LASMA. It's not the government. Although we all have responsibilities. The government has responsibilities to make sure that the roads are okay, because you have traffic gridlocks when you have big potholes, when the rains come and the roads are not managed or the roads are not the level in which they should be. So now if you have COVID, right, that distorts what needs to happen. If you don't have the requisite funding, that affects how many roads you can do. So that's government side. On the other side, a lot of us here, maybe because a public transportation system is not at the level it should be. So we rely on our private vehicles. And so we have 10 million people coming out onto the roads in a state where geographically is the smallest in the whole country. And we all want to go out. And the funny thing is, like, majority of the traffic movement moves from one section, mainland, and goes onto the island for work, for business, for marketing. And then in the afternoon, we do the same thing. And then the public transport people don't care because it's not regulated. The only thing that's regulated now is the BRT buses that is being done. And the governor is doing a good job to make sure that increases. But then when you have the yellow buses that are privately owned and they all vying to make their money whichever way they can, the chaos is just there for us to see every single day. So it is not the Third Mainland Bridge that is changing the parameters. It is the system, us, the way it is, our realities, that is causing the traffic.
Well, the realities are already compounded. So
Yes.
partial closure of that bridge is going to aggravate
worse,
the whole
yes.
thing.
No, but like I said, we should be sincere. Like those that are likely to be affected as a result of the partial closure are the smaller numbers of those coming from the island, coming to the mainland between 12 midnight and 12 noon.
Yeah, but the thing
And
about
vice
that
versa.
is the tailback, some of those other routes. I mean, you should know this better than me, how the feeder routes always get affected. But the thing is, the point you made about those yellow buses that are not regulated, even before the closure of the bridge, has always been a headache to road users. So what is the thinking about them now in terms of how to manage this?
Well, that's a good question. I had a meeting with the management of NURTW. And the reason we had, because there's some works going on at mile 12 on the Ikorodu Road corridor. And that corridor itself is incessant traffic every single day. So mile 12 compounds it. And then when you want to do works, you can just imagine. But they stepped in to speak with their guys. And for whatever magical reason, it's not as bad as people were expecting. So we're thinking, whatever magic wand that you guys waved, I want to see it happen when the Third Mainland Bridge is being closed. So we called them in and we've asked them, like, please, we need you to collaborate with the government side and to talk to your people that this situation will affect everyone, even your members, because you can't make money in traffic. If you're not making your trips, you can't make your money. So it behoves on all of us, right, to do what we need to do to make sure that intersections, junctions, which is what causes most gridlocks, because once you can't come out from side roads and everything, because downfall drivers are parked there to pick up passengers. Those are the sort of little things at every intersection that causes a problem. So if they collaborate and they do well, I am sure the fear that we're just going to be on standstill, whatever, would not come to pass.
One of the things that is also responsible for gridlocks, which I'm sure you will be aware of, are broken down vehicles.
Oh yes.
We had that challenge in this axis when the expressway was partially closed as well, that whenever there is a breakdown, there is tremendous traffic all over, you know, and it's funny how it affects almost the entire city. So what's the plan? Because big trucks are going to break down, not because they want to, but sometimes it just happens. What's the plan to evacuate as soon as, so as to free up the roads?
Well, you're asking a serious and challenging question. And I'm just going to try and be as brutally honest as I can be. There will be breakdowns. As long as the trucks, the trailers, and the tankers and the container carriers are allowed on Lagos roads every single day, every minute of the day, there will be breakdowns. And it is not now, except the government steps up and like, okay, this is a major issue, and then you begin to come down with some strict laws about the mechanical capacity of these vehicles, the overloading. Now, how do you begin to deal with overloading right now, right? Because you must have weigh bridges. But are we going to have the weigh bridges in the next 1 month? Very unlikely. So there are certain things from the government side that can be done to change the parameter of breakdowns. But when it breaks down, it is now the ability of the emergency rescue team to get to the scene. Now, once a breakdown happens, you can just imagine in 3 seconds, vehicles have already come down. So the emergency vehicles, how will they access the place to evacuate? If it's now dangerous goods and everything, you have to cut on the whole road. You can't even manage it. We're talking about PMS, we're talking about other dangerous components that these trailers can be carrying. And so it is our road network and unavailable alternative for motorists to use that is the big problem. So you take the major routes, Third Mainland Bridge, Ikorodu Road, Lagos-Ibadan Express, those major, Lagos-Abeokuta, Agege-Motor Road. Anything happens to all those 3 axis road, Lagos is coming down. And you had Lekki Express too. So unfortunately, that is our reality. So the government will do everything possible to evacuate as much as possible within the safe parameter, right? But within that time, what do? Do we endure? Do we understand the situation? Or do we begin to mess things up to make it worse for ourselves? Which is what I feel happens most of the time.
All right, we'll be keeping tabs, and everyone, I think at this point, everybody has got to ensure that they do what they can to see how we can sort all of this and ensure, well, one important part is we road users. We need to think differently how we use the roads as well, so that we're all in this together.
Yes, I'm glad you said that. So, I mean, it's an opportunity to just plead with motorists like, listen, last officers on the road, they're not magicians. They're Nigerians, they're our brothers, they're our sisters, they're on the road. When they tell you to stop, just stop. There's a reason for telling you to stop so that somebody else can go.
So do we expect that they will now apply the rules with a human face? Because some people will miss their way as a result of this.
They always do that. Some people will miss their way. We always do that. It is the verbals and the aggression that changes the factors.
Don't they have a right to be afraid of LASMA because they believe that once the LASMA official
attack is the best form of defense.
Attack is the best form of defense. Once the LASMA official
but no physical
them,
attack, please.
You know.
No, but the truth of the matter is, if you don't do wrong, the chances of LASMA officer stopping you is less than 5%.
Which is what he is asking.
Yes.
At this time, people who do not know are going to miss their way. Okay, this is what is happening right now.
We have our correspondent, Olu Phillips. He's on the roads
right.
To monitor what's going on. So those are, we know, those are live images coming through. So let's find out where Olu Phillips is. And already, we could see the gridlock. So can we bring Olu on now? Olu, tell us what's happening. Where are you at the moment?
Yeah, Chamberlain, it's a bright and beautiful morning here. We are on the pedestrian bridge very close to Alaka bus stop. I'm just going to pull off a little so that the cameraman can actually zoom in to show you what exactly is going on the Ikorodu Road. Now, this is Ikorodu Road, and these are the people making their way from stadium, barracks, and all of that, traveling into Lagos Island. Now, this is the traffic congestion we have. And clearly, this is not an issue of traffic management. It's an issue of having limited road arteries to use. And what we can also see, if my cameraman can come this way, I want to take you to the other side, the exit point. You can see that the trucks have taken over one lane of the road. They are parked, they are stationary. Yes, they have the right to use the road. Yes, they have the right to approach the ports. Yes, they have the right to go take care of their consignments and delivery of goods. But again, what that means is that all the vehicles coming from the 6-lane highway will be narrowed into just one lane, making it all the way to Funshaw Williams by Igomu roundabout and return back to the Eco Bridge. Now, remember that Eco Bridge is also blocked for repairs. That's why we can have people use the Eco Bridge, and that's the challenge we are having here at Chamberlain.
So at the moment, in terms of, we know that people that's already on their calendar. What's the impression you get from those who are using the roads as to their preparation, their knowledge of what is going to happen on July 24? Because they need to know that in order to manage and plan their time properly. Do you get a sense that they seem to be prepared for that?
Chamberlain, let me tell you something. As early as 6 a.m., I had been combing this area to find out if is there a travel time, is there a time of the day when you can actually travel on this road and beat the traffic. But I did realize that whether it is 5 a.m., whether it is 6 a.m., we have an influx of people from the mainland wanting to go to the island. And simply put, they do not have that access roads to get onto the island because all of the axes, all of the arteries are narrowed in because of the repairs. Now, so let me give you another example. Those coming from Orile Igomu, coming from Eric Moore, coming from Bode Thomas, coming from Ogulano Drive in Sulere, coming from Aguda, everyone is going to confluence or have a confluence point at this place. So if you're traveling from that point, you're coming from this way, whether at 6 a.m., whether at 7 a.m., whether at 8 a.m., you will be slowed down here because there is a bottleneck. You're moving from a 6-lane, 2 lanes in the inner street, and you're coming back to just 1 lane that will take you across to the other side of a Eco Bridge. So when I spoke to some people early this morning, they said to me, it's not about being unruly on the road. It's not about having 1,000 traffic officers on the road. We don't have access roads to move. And this is simply the challenge. Mind you, you have a lot of trucks on this axis of the road because the Oshodi-Apapa Expressway inward Tinkan Island is under construction and has been cordoned off for construction between the Coconut Bridge and the Tinkan Port Gate. So trucks can use that side of the road. They've all converged here. They are on this side of the road, struggling also with other motorists. This is the situation, and this is a foretaste of what will eventually happen when you also add the repairs of the 3rd Mainland Bridge by way of closure. This is just a foretaste. This is a schematics of what is going to happen, if you like.
All right, welcome back. We'll get back to Olu shortly, but haven't seen that scenario. What's your thought?
My thought is he's speaking the reality on ground. Everything Olu has said is true. And so we ask ourselves, if you don't have a genuine reason to travel to the island, why go? Because you're only going to compound what is already a reality on ground.
But there's a genuine reason for people to go to work. It's a genuine reason for people to go to work on the island.
But a lot of us can also work from home without having to go there.
So is this where the government or the employers have to have a handshake?
Yes, they have to step in because this is an emergency situation. I mean, you ask your workforce to come to work, to come to the island, and then they're not useful because they're tired and they're stressed up. What are you going to get out of them? So this is an emergency and we need together. This is not finger-pointing situation right now. Like Olu said, we don't have the infrastructure to move us from the mainland to move us to the island. And anything can happen. I mean, I just give a crazy situation. What if both bridges collapses? What are we going to do?
All right, Olu, let's. What would you be asking people to do now? I mean, this is definitely not one of those times that it's not a tea party, as we say, Olu. So what would be your counsel to commuters especially, and of course, because, I mean, it is definitely not a funny scenario. You heard, I don't know if you were able to hear the last GM here saying that, look, maybe the government and the private sector need to have a handshake. What do you think that is relevant here, given what you see on the roads?
Brilliant. I mean, we didn't wake up into this situation. This situation was going to happen. The bridges have to be repaired. They have to be maintained. But what I didn't see, or what we should have known, or what we should know, is that society governance is a product of research, is a product of deliberations, is a product of simulations. Now, did we know that we could have at least simulated the situation and asked ourselves, what's the volume of vehicles moving onto the island on a daily basis? Do we know that? Where are people pouring into? What part of the Lagos Island are people pouring into? Must people get into the island? Do we have that research result? Do we have those statistics? Why are people traveling from the mainland in the morning, everybody goes this way, and in the evening, everybody comes this way? Did we do those schematics? When we were closing the Echo Bridge, did we ask how many vehicles use Echo Bridge and how many will be shortchanged if it gets closed? When we closed the Apapa Marine Beach, which is supposed to carry trucks into Apapa, and you know how much the customs, for instance, rake in from that port. They rake in very good money, and it is second to the oil revenue. When we are going to close that bridge to maintenance, did we ask ourselves, did the federal government and the state government, did they push the envelopes to ask themselves, okay, Lagos State, we're going to do this. How does this affect your commerce? Did we have those conversations? When we started constructing the Lagos-Apapa Oshodi Expressway, Oshodi Expressway, knowing that these ones are also under construction, did we have a conversation to ask, how many vehicles are going to be on that road? How many can be taken off that road? Now, people wake up and they are told, oh, we're going to close the bridges. Oh, so drive slowly, obey traffic chaperons. If you don't have any business on the island, don't go to the island. This is not a conversation that we should be having. We should have had these conversations planned, had our statistics, people will get to know it, and other than people coming onto the road and depending on Google to tell them where the red lights are and where the green lights are. We didn't have this conversation, and that's not a clean way to have development. That's not a clean way to institute governance. It should be about research. It should be about schematics. It should be about simulations. Try out this thing. Experiment them. Take a weekend. Ask yourself, let's experiment it this weekend. If it works, then we'll try it again the second week. Lagos should actually have a robust intermodal transport system. You use the waterways, you use the landways. And what confidence have we inspired for those who may want to try the waterways? Do I want to travel on water? Maybe no. But has it become expedient? Maybe yes. But am I scared enough to do that? I do not know. Do I have enough information to do that? Maybe yes, maybe no. Chamberlain, these are some of the real questions that we should have had before now. But it's never late to have them. Maybe some of these projects have to be aligned in such a way that they make sense in terms of execution. Yes, it should be about strategy and execution. We know we should repair the bridges, but you should have strategy and execution in place.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Olu. Even though I did one, he's not a councillor, but he didn't listen to me, so now you have it. Well, Mr. Dewey, clearly your job is cut out for you. A lot of people expect a lot from Lagos, and so who knows?
So can I just straight away recommend Olu Phillips to be transport minister for the country, and I want to recommend him and I want to endorse him at the same time.
Maybe he should start by being your advisor as well, first of all. Take you from there.
It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. I mean, what he's saying is real. It's what should happen. We do have statistics. We have data, but are we using it? And are we using it when? And like everything else, things happen so fast, and we tend to want to pray that this would not happen, and sometimes prayers are not answered the way we want it to be.
But it's good to know that at least one component, the yellow buses. I think they gave you their word that they will conduct themselves decently.
That's the thing. And Chamberlain, we have 6 months, all right, to deal with this. This is an ongoing thing. So we start the first week, we evaluate, we check what's going on, what is it that we've done wrong, what are the lessons learned in the first week, where we're going, and then we sit down, just like Olu said, we sit down, we look at it, and check like, okay, what other measures can be put in place? Because 6 months is a long time.
Yeah.
And it covers the Christmas period. So that's very scary.
That's to next year.
It's very scary,
When
I'm
you
telling
finish.
you.
Oh dear.
But a lot
All right.
depends on the motorists.
Okay.
A lot depends on them. So,
Well, we'll
yeah.
have to bring you back eventually
certainly.
because there's some other areas that we need to actually take a look at, hoping that we'll see how we can work together to ensure things work well for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank
and we
you.
wish you all the best as
Thank
well.
you very much.